it's me. I'm sorry I haven't done a video for ages and ages. I've not really been feeling very well. Oh, I'm gonna get emotional. Oh dear, sorry. Oh, oh dear. I'm sending you all a lot of love. I really am. I miss you. Oh dear. Purging. I was talking a minute. This is why I can't work at the moment. So I'm doing a video for you, trying to talk about getting closer to spirit, and also why we get stuck in our lives, why we get stuck or can feel very stuck, and also we might have a tendency to sabotage stuff. Okay, because I've had a massive tendency to sabotage everything in my life, really. So, soul family. Oh, this is really emotional doing a video after not doing one for so long, sorry. Something that one of my gurus taught me, Papa G, that's his initials on there. I'll be alright in a minute. Yeah. He taught me, I never met him by the way, but I've watched a lot of his videos, and something he taught me was that you can't have the ego and have God, okay? So you can't have spirit, you can't have a close relationship to spirit if you've got a lot of ego. So that's why, you know, when you look at people in your life who just basically have got no conception of spirit at all. I mean, some people do, but in a very more unconscious way, like they're just naturally connected to spirit and spirit just flows through them. I'm not talking about people like that. I'm talking about people that you can just feel the energy is off, and they're very disconnected from spirituality, and they're very disconnected from themselves, usually very disconnected from other people, and it's because they've got a lot of ego, right? I mean, most of us were brought up, not being horrible, but most of us were brought up by parents or caregivers that had a lot of ego, yeah? And they didn't have that connection with spirit, did they? And the reason, like, we're a soul family, we're here to clear a lot of ego, yeah? And that's why we had parents or caregivers with a lot of ego. Because we actually, as a soul family, like, I'll be honest with you, and that's why I'm crying a lot in this video, because you can see how much ego I'm clearing out at the moment. And it's not easy. So basically, we are here incarnated as a soul family to clear out as much ego as we can in this incarnation. And you only have to look at your caregivers and parents that you had as a child to know you were born into a family with a hell of a lot of ego. And our assignment in this lifetime is to just clear as much as we can. And that's why a lot of us have been like the black sheep in the family and stuff like that. Now, what am I saying? I haven't written any notes because I just prefer to do it natural. So we as a soul family, we want that connection with spirit, don't we? We want to feel a connection with spirit because we know the ego is very repelling. Like, we found the ego in our parents and caregivers very repelling as a child. And most of us find ego in other people very repelling in this soul family. We're very sensitive to ego. So it's like, we just want to keep a lot of people at arm's length. And that's why a lot of us live quite in solitude. Like we don't, you know, a lot of us are like hermits, or hope you don't mind me saying, some, not all of us, because I know some of you aren't, but a lot of us are. And if you do live with people, yeah, in this soul family, if you are one of the ones in this soul family that does live with a lot of people, you will still find yourself craving space and being on your own so much, and you can't really function unless you have that. So we all still come under the same umbrella. And it's like, this is our spirit, isn't it? Yeah. And we've got all that ego around, and what we're here to do is burn all of that off, right? And our parents and our caregivers were like a sort of they're a symbol of the ego that we had in past lives, and the repellingness, I don't think that's a word, but the amount that you repel to your family, your biological family, or whatever sort of family you were brought up by, the level that you feel repelled to them is really a mirror to how much you are repelled by your own ego. And we're so you know, determined to just burn as much ego as we can, because we just repelled by it. And you know, we've all gone through our own personal journeys, how that started off. You know, like for me, it was like going to therapy in my 20s, in my 30s, where I could. And then I sort of found therapy more difficult when I hit 40, because I kept getting the wrong therapist. And, you know, we've all tried different healing methods, and really to do whatever we could to get rid of all this ego, because we know underneath who we really are. But there's always been a sense of something obstructing us from being who we really are, whether it's our history and the traumas we went through, other people in our lives, situations. It just feels like, and even ourselves, like I said, even ourselves trying to sabotage ourselves. And I think this year is going to be massive for this soul family, like really massive, because it is huge for me. So I just know that means it's going to be huge for you. And I do know, obviously, I've got close contact with some people in our soul family, and I know this is just like a really massive, massive year for doing this work, to just finally clear out more karma and ego than ever before, so that we can basically get back to being who we really are, you know, like what our true nature actually is. And because once you get back to your true nature, how spirit intended you to be, you know, you're going to be more peaceful and you're going to be more happy. And you're also going to be much more at one with spirit. When you're operating in ego, what you find is things don't work out for you all the time. You'll get really blocked and feel like you're very stuck in your life and things aren't progressing. And anything that you do try to achieve or create, you end up sabotaging it. And the reason for it is because you are living as an ego identity, which is basically an entity. And it's a karmic entity, you know, and you're confused and you think you're this person, but you're not really that person. And that's why, you know, things aren't moving forward with your life, or you end up hating the things that you create, or just ruining the things that you create. And the reason is because, you know, spirit won't abide ego. Ego is the complete opposite of spirit. So spirit will not support ego in any way, and so eventually it will always break down, you know. And so spirit started working with me more and more last year, and started to show me through the astrology charts what in more detail to understand, because I think I was so confused. I knew I had to clear away this ego, and I had a real strong sense last summer, which is nearly a year ago now, you know. I had a very strong sense that the ego that was still the problem was stemming from my dad. I'm not blaming him, I know it's my own karma, but it was like a really strong sense like I was still having that critical inner parent inside me. Just, I was always being too hard on myself, and I was always just feeling very pressured or suppressed. And it was like, you know, like my dad's voice still living on inside my head, but I realised it was my own superego. And I just thought, right, I've got to stop it because I'm keeping it alive. And it's basically superego, because everybody in your life really is just a reflection of your own ego. And that's a really hard thing to awaken to. It takes a lot of perseverance. You have to be very diligent in your work daily, you know, to really awaken to the fact that everyone in your life is just a reflection of your own ego. And so it's not about my dad or my upbringing. It really is essentially about, you know, they just hold clues, like symbols, to help me understand my own ego. That's what all of this is about. And Spirit started telling me, you know, about the astrology chart and the different parts of the astrology chart. So that's how I started working with a lot of you the last year. Start sharing that, you know, and I know a lot of you found that interesting and helpful. And I will say to you, you know, that so the superego is the most dense. Basically, all of your astrology chart is your ego. All of your astrology chart is your personality. And that's why it's important to have your whole astrology chart, because it's not just about your main sign or your sun, moon, rising, Venus. It's your whole chart, right? But there are different parts of the chart that Spirit worked with me specifically on, and maybe it's just for this specific soul family, I don't know. But I've done it time and time again with a lot of people. And, you know, the thing is, your superego is the most dense layer of your ego, and then you've got your main ego, right? And so it's all ego essentially, which makes up the human personality. But some of it is more dense parts of your ego and karma, and some of it is more the ego. And this is the part of the ego I'm trying to get back to for all of us in this soul family, is the more true parts of your ego identity, which is really how Spirit made you as a child before your traumas or abuse and things like that happened. And essentially that is still your ego, your human personality, but we want to get back to that essential part. Once you get back to that essential part, you're in alignment. It's what Abraham Hicks would call like your vortex, okay? Because then you're not suppressing and denying anymore how Spirit made you, you know? And it takes a lot of courage to do this work, which is why you saw me crying at the beginning. It takes a lot of courage, because it's not that easy accepting how Spirit made you, because there's going to be parts of it you don't like, because you know, ashamed of it and stuff like that. But once you get into how Spirit really did make you, you're finally, like I say, in alignment. You see, you're not in resistance to Spirit anymore, okay? And that's when you get more and more moments of feeling the oneness, the peace. And then you can drop deeper into the I am presence, which is really the spiritual substratum of which you actually are. And that's the ultimate goal, because that is really ultimately what we are every night when we fall asleep, apart from when we're dreaming. When we're dreaming, that's like our ego becoming active. So, but when we're asleep, we're at one. We're totally at one with Source, okay? And that's much easier to access once you clear these layers of ego away. Because, like I said at the beginning when I was crying, Papa G said you cannot have the ego and have Source, yeah? So that's why we're always talking about clearing away ego, you know? And it's a very gradual process. So it's about clearing away the more dense layers of the ego, the superego first. And then, you know, you're dropping more into your essential nature, your essential ego, how you were made. Whether that means you're more sensitive, you know, artistic, maybe super sensitive like me, you know, like you might be ADHD, autistic, you might have other mental health problems. They are your true sensitivities, how Spirit made you, but you might have suppressed a lot of that, like I have, because it wasn't accepted by the adults around you when you were growing up. It wasn't accepted or understood. So it sort of got suppressed. then you create the character, the superego, and you start to live like that. But that is totally out of alignment with how you really were made. So if you're out of alignment with how you were actually made, how can source support you? Because you're over here, and source and your true nature are over here. And that's why you start to get very stuck, and then you'll find yourself sabotaging what you're creating, because deep down it's not really in alignment with source, and it's not even in alignment really with you. So you'll create things and then you'll think, why the hell did I do that? Why am I here? You know, like God, you know, it just, nothing makes sense to me. And then, you know, you have your midlife crisis or whatever, like I did. You know, if some people are very blessed, and because they've cleared so much karma away in past lives, they don't have such a journey in this lifetime, because they've already done some of this work. So they've already been born with less superego, more in alignment, adults that accept their true nature, yeah, and so they've got less karma. They've got more clarity. They can see. They've got a higher level of consciousness, and they can see, yeah. And they can be more self-accepting of how spirit made them. So their life is just flowing, and there's less barriers, there's less obstacles, there's less self-sabotage. Yeah, I know my daughter, she's on that level, and I'm sure a few of you will know that people that are like that, at the end of the day, they just did more work in our past lives. You know, we only have ourselves to blame. So, but it's not about blame. It's about the fact that this is our opportunity now in this lifetime to get real, and to have the courage. And it is difficult, and sometimes it's confusing, because the ego is a very dense entity, and it does cloud your vision. And sometimes you will question yourself and be like, I know Kerry said this was my ego, but it kind of feels like me, and I'm not sure if she's right. And I totally understand it, because I've had many times like this, and I still do. But, you know, when the fog clears out and you finish your purging, you do sort of see more clearly, and then you start to feel yourself, your true self again. So I'll give you a little bit of information. I don't mind, because I'm not really working at the moment. So the superego is actually, if you want how spirits taught me directly, your rising sign, all right? Your rising sign in your astrology chart, that's your superego. And I know for some of you that's going to be hard to swallow, because you're going to think, but I've got loads of good qualities in my rising sign and I like it. You may like it, but there's going to be aspects of it you really don't like. And to be honest with you, it's making you play a false identity of what you really are. Yes, it might make you more successful at work, or it might make you more successful in your relationships, but there's going to be big cracks in that identity, all right? And those cracks is what your mental health bleeds through, or all the problems in your life start to bleed through, because you're existing as a rising sign, whatever that zodiac sign may be, and it's not really who you are. So you're projecting an image. Yeah, people call it the mask. And when you're projecting an image, that is essentially is ego. Yeah, so you're totally out of alignment with really how spirit's made you. And so existing like that, things are going to keep getting stuck or going wrong. So I encourage anyone in my soul family to look at your rising sign and actually start questioning, is it really who I am? Is it making me keep taking on a fake character? Sometimes, now remember, the ego is manipulative. It's a very manipulative energy, and it's karmic. So this is the hardest work you will ever do, right? But it's the most rewarding, because if you want to be close to spirit, if you want to be your true self, it's freaking worth the work. Now, a lot of the time, the thing with the rising sign is you had to create that persona to survive your childhood. If you didn't play that role in your childhood, you would not have survived. Okay, that's another key. So mine was to communicate a lot more than I really could. It was to always be peaceful and create harmony in relationships, always to go the extra mile, always to help others. Okay, and if I didn't do that, yeah, you can imagine I wouldn't have really got through my childhood. Oh, I don't want to keep mentioning my dad because it's not just all of my dad's, my mum as well. All right, so now I have to leave that alone. You have to start leaving it alone, because if you keep acting that character, you're never going to get rid of it. That means you're not going to clear enough karma away in this lifetime, and you're not going to get close enough to spirit in this lifetime. The choice is yours, but it's my advice. Yeah. That's why I've not been working, because what happens is if you slip too heavily into that rising sign, that superego identity, that mask, it will start to give you mental health problems, because you'll start to get very disorientated and confused and depressed, because basically you're playing a role that is not really who you are, and that's when we get really depressed. Okay, and that's what was happening to me. I love you all, and I love helping you all, and I love communicating with you all, but I don't have the amount I was having to do it. I can't, because I was not created like that. Spirit did not create me in that way. Spirit created me as a very quiet person, which is why if you ever meet me, you'll see how quiet I am. You know, and it's like, it'd take me sometimes 3-4 hours to be able to get off the sofa just to record one video. You know, and it was like that in the beginning. It would take me 5 hours to get off the sofa and create one 20-minute video. So, you know, I've burnt off quite a bit of pain body the last 5 years, but the thing is, sort of, the system wants more. The system wants more out of you. So I was having to operate as that ego identity, that my rising sign. And it was just starting to make me very drained and mentally unwell, because I wasn't honouring actually how spirit's made me, which is a very quiet, detached type of person. I'm actually very detached and quiet and eccentric. And I'm not going to share all this astrology stuff today, because it's quite a lot to share in one session, but because I just want to get the information about the rising sign out there, because that's the most important one to start thinking about. What is my rising sign? How did that influence me as a child to behave, to survive my childhood? How is it now making me dysfunctional? How is it now making me project an image of myself that may make me successful in certain areas of my life, but I know deep down that isn't who I am? And do I really want to continue doing this? You know, because it's not just getting you to act a role, it's also getting you to believe that you want things that you don't actually want. It's crazy. That is how, so when people say they want their ego, seriously, I can't even be bothered to have a discussion like that, because your ego is an abuser. It will manipulate and abuse you to make you believe you want things that you don't actually really want, okay? And it will just make you keep messing everything up in your life. So look at that rising sign in your chart. Most of you know what your astrology chart is. You do need the time of your birth, and you can put it into the internet for free. You don't have to pay an astrologer. And then it will tell you it will be called your ascendant or your rising. Most charts, I think it's called the ascendant sign, okay? But start looking at that, and then maybe watch this video again to really think about, you know, how can I get rid of this? How can I stop being this person? Because it's not really who I am, and you know it isn't. And I'm telling you, because it's not. I've done this with loads of people last year. But anyway, what's underneath is who you really are. And that's what I've been basically living like the last 6 weeks or so. And it's been really hard. And Spirit's been throwing a lot of challenges at me as well, because the matrix doesn't like you pulling away. The system doesn't like you pulling away from that identity you were playing. The system wants you to stay in that role. But I couldn't do it anymore. Spirit put me under so much challenges, because I know Spirit is saying, Kerry, it's time. You're not playing that role anymore. You've got to be your true self now. That level of ego's now got to go. And I want to do it because I know it will make my readings clearer. It will make my work a lot better, because I'll be much more real. So, you know, and I want the same for you, right? Now, don't forget as well, certain people in your life will support that role and they won't like you breaking away from that role. And that's the challenges I've been experiencing. Yeah. It's a gradual process. You sort of have to gradually just find ways to ignore what people are trying to get you to carry on in that role and say, no, I can't do that anymore, because mentally it's not good for me. You know, I know it's not mentally good for me. I can't keep doing it. Or there might even be, you might even have physical problems. Yeah, or getting yourself into strife, getting yourself into dodgy situations. Yeah, all of those things. I've done all of those. I'm not going to tell you all the details. If this was a closed group, I'd freaking tell you everything, because I've got no shame. But it's not it's an open forum, this channel, so I'm not going to give you all the information, but you can imagine what I'm talking about, you know. So we're getting back to our true selves. This year, 2024, is the year to do it for our soul family. If you felt stuck, or you felt your life's not moving forward, or you feel unstable, or you feel your mental health's not good, or you feel you're sabotaging and things are starting to go wrong again, it's because you're probably living as that rising sign. And we've got to get real. We've got to have the courage to say, no, who am I really? I will do more videos if I can. I feel a bit better now I've got going. I'm going to pick a card. I thought I'd pick a couple of cards. I can't do like whole zodiac readings for every sign in the zodiac, because I just can't at the moment. It just is so energy for me to communicate for that length of time. I just can't do it. But I just wanted to hop on and just say that I do love you all. I do appreciate all the messages, and I do think about you all, you know, and I know you think about me, and we are connected. And if anything, the connection will just get stronger and stronger, because the more of that ego we clear away, you know. Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to pick a couple of cards, and it's just for us as a soul family. What's going on at the moment? What the hell is going on? Okay, 9 of Wands. That card's about persevering. That is a card of needing to persevere. And if you do persevere, things will go well and you will succeed. It comes with a lot of wounds, that card. You know, you've got a lot of wounds and you've had to fight a lot of battles. There is something else to do with that card, and I can't remember, so let me go and get the you know, it's because I've not been reading the cards as much, isn't it? I don't want to forget my tarot, do I? It's good sometimes just to quickly pull a card. Prepared and able to deal with any challenge. You're waiting. You're more wise. You're more wise than you were. You've been working very hard. You are prepared more than you realise to deal with any challenge. You're actually more able and ready prepared to deal with any attack, manipulator or challenge than you may realise. Isn't that good? Okay. So don't doubt yourself at the moment. It has been hard. Spirit is acknowledging that it's been hard lately. And you've had to come through a lot, but you're actually more able to deal with things than you realise. You are being very loyal to yourself. Okay, you've decided to commit to yourself and commit to your path. And some people may find you a bit boring or a bit cold, right? It might feel like a bit of a slow path than what you'd like. You probably want to go a bit quicker, but you're not going to get diverted off your path, okay? Nothing's going to get in your way. You're going to keep moving forward, and you will be successful. Both the 9 of Wands is a card that, although it comes with its stresses and struggles, if you keep persevering, you will do well, and you're more prepared, better prepared than you think. And this card the same. It is a slow energy. It can be a bit of a cold energy or a boring energy, you know, but it comes with really reaping the rewards long term. So you will commit to yourself, you will keep going. You've got the Queen of Swords here. You do feel a bit hurt and a bit bitter, and some of you may be grieving. But you're cultivating a very strong vision now for where you're headed. Again, there's definitely a very ruthless energy here where it's like nothing's going to get in my freaking way. Yeah, I'm going to do what is right for me. But there, I can see that there's wounds and there's pain. And you could see that when I was crying at the beginning of the video. Yeah, it is, you know, it is a form of grief when we're letting go of an old identity, because for a long time it's how we've existed and it's who we thought we were, you know, and it takes a lot of courage to let it go. But here, the last card, Ace of Wands, Spirit is going to be bringing you an opportunity. It's an opportunity that you could earn money from, or just basically really grow and feel very inspired and creative. Okay, so Ace of Wands is an opportunity that spirit kind of directly brings to you for your growth, inspiration, creativity and money. So that is lovely, isn't it? So I'm sending you lots of love and peace. I hope you didn't mind me crying at the beginning of the video. You can see Gilbert there. He's still knocking around. And you know, anyway, there's not really much more for me to say, but I hope that video was nice. If we clear away the rising sign, that is the most dense layer of the superego, of the ego. It's the densest part of it. It's the part that really has to go first. If we get rid of that, yeah, we're getting more closer to our true nature, and thereby closer to consciousness, closer to our true nature and closer to a spirit. Closer to getting our life more in a true alignment. Okay, and so that's what the video was about. It does involve a lot of purging, which is why you saw me cry, but it's, you know, the true Kerry, see. It's better for me to show you who I really am, isn't it? Because if we're a soul family, we need to see each other as we really are, and it's a process of acceptance that I'm not that character. This is who I am, and who I am is, you know, I struggle. I do struggle with communicating. I struggle with interacting too much with the outside world. Oh, I'll get upset again. So that's why I'd rather you see me as I really am, and I do much better work with you like this. But anyway, I can't really work at the moment. But I'm sending you lots of love and peace. Thanks for subscribing. I'm sending you a lot of love.